There we go. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Leah Smalley. I'm the Assistant Director of Financial Aid Services at the Coordinating Board. Thank you so much for joining me during this interesting time that we're going through. This public health emergency has put all of us in a very different kind of working environment. And I can't say thank you enough to everyone. We have gone through so many different changes. A lot of people are having to uproot and move to their homes, work with your families, work with your neighbors. So again, one of the things I wanted to stress today is, we're all working together during all of this, and so we appreciate all the patience and information that you're providing to the coordinating board so that we can all make things better for our students and get through this together. So today what I'd like to do is just communicate a little bit of where to find information on what's going on related to this pandemic. There is so much out there on the internet right now, and so it's hard to know where to go to find stuff. So I'm just going to be putting you in connection with coordinating board COVID-19 information, and then of course there's plenty of other resources out there related to federal aid and different procedures, accreditations, and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to be focusing on that. And then I'm going to talk to you about some of the state financial aid updates that have come out, just so that we can make sure that you're aware of what kind of waivers you can allow for different requirements and rules that we have. And then also how to get in touch with us during this time, because our normal operating procedures have changed. And so I just want to make sure that people understand how to get in touch with us since we're not available through our normal channels. And then what's next? What do we have coming up? We're still working very hard to get out resource materials and training to the institution. So this is our way of just providing some of the things that are going to be in the pipeline in the next few weeks. So let's get started. A few weeks ago, the coordinating board created a COVID-19 updates page. And you can find that by going to the main agency website, and then in the middle left-hand side, there's a little link there that you can click on. When you click on that link, it's going to bring up another page that's going to have a ton of different topics, updates, announcements, and most importantly, a section called Frequently Asked Questions. These pages are updated daily, even on the weekends. So definitely keep up to speed with that, because that's where we're trying to filter and put all the information in one spot. We do have links on our SFAP webpage that take you to this page. Kind of helps you navigate a little bit easier if you're used to using SFAP versus the main agency page. But this is a good spot because we post the dates in which things become effective, and we try and categorize things so that they're in a logical order. So one of the pages that is dedicated now is for state financial aid, and that's where you're going to find the announcements that we've been sending out. So today I'm going to go through those just high level. There is more information related to these on this web page, but I'm just going to touch on these so that you know what's out there. So the first one is the impact of this pandemic on state reporting deadlines. This is specific to financial aid. The first reporting cycle for financial aid database for FY 2020 has been canceled. Institutions do not need to submit a file at this point. We will be reopening FAD reporting for the second reporting cycle, which is still open to was set to open, I should say, on June 22nd, and the validation date is August 28th. So that is quickly approaching. So please, be working with your vendors, be working to start your file process. But for cycle one, you do not need to worry about that one at this point. The second thing is the Good Neighbor program. The portal typically closes on March 15th. To submit student nominations to the coordinating board. This is usually done through the international office, sometimes financial aid. It really depends on the institution, but we have extended that deadline. So if you're listening and you need to notify your international office, please let them know that it's been extended to May 1st, and at that point the portal will close. And we're going to do our absolute best to do the selection process so that we can get those notifications out to the school, because we know that students are kind of anticipating or waiting to get that information so they know what to do next. The other update is the upcoming April 15th, which is tomorrow. There's a deadline for tuition equalization grant. Each year, private schools are required to submit an engagement report. It's somewhat of an audit report, and it was extended until June 30th of 2020, and that is for the 2018-19 year. We are working to get the 1920 engagement guide out to the institutions, but that is not available yet. But this is in relation to 18-19, so that has been extended. Next is the college student budgets. Many of the institutions were working on this when all of the kind of upheaval happened, and so we wanted to make sure that institutions were aware that this has been extended to June 1st. So you do have a little bit more time now to submit the college student budgets if you haven't done so already. And that ties into the next one that's there, which is Net Price Calculator. The way that the Net Price Calculator tool works is it pulls your college student budgets data into what the student or the end user would see. So unfortunately, if we don't have the college student budget data, the rollover for the Net Price Calculator will not be possible, so we're having to extend that out. So once we have college student budgets data, we will be sending out the instructions and doing training for Net Price Calculator to make sure we can get that tool updated. The tool is still operational. It'll just have last year's data in it. So students who are shopping around can still use that information to navigate and look for school. So it's not going to be significantly off. So moving on. So timely distribution of funds. The Texas Administrative Code 22.2 includes some requirements that schools release funds to students within certain timeframes. So there has been some expectations have been adjusted because of this and because of the circumstances. So institutions should disperse state financial aid to a student's account as quickly as each institution's operations will allow. So we wanted to put that out there so that institutions have the flexibility and can get that onto the student's account without such a rigid timeline because of how people are set up right now. Institutions also have 30 business days after receiving the funds to return undisbursed funds to the coordinating boards. You have that extra time as well. Please note that as of right now, this adjustment only applies to funds that were dispersed from the coordinating board for fiscal year 2020. Obviously, if things continue, we will reassess and we will recommunicate if something else changes. The next one is the impact on Texas College WorkStudy. We sent out a notification just letting schools know that you can apply the same guidance to Texas College WorkStudy and the WorkStudy Student Mentorship Program as the Department of Ed issued in their electronic announcement on March 5th. That announcement has a lot of different topics and information, and even since then they've released additional information. So I highly recommend that if you have not read the announcement that you go out and read it, because it has a lot of good information and extra layers of detail compared to what we posted. But you can use the same guidance and the same methodology when you're paying out your federal work-study students or your Texas College WorkStudy and Mentorship Program. So what it says in the guidance is that if a student is unable to work because the school made the decision to close or they had to move to online distance education classes, that you can continue to pay those students. It does not apply to students who decided for themselves to leave school or if they switched to online classes before this happened. These students are not eligible to be paid for the wages for any of the hours they didn't actually work. So again, additional information is on our web page. It's linked to the announcement if you need that assistance. And again, they have released even more information since the March 5th announcement. The next one is the impact on satisfactory academic progress requirements. A lot of the state grant programs, all of the state Texas grant, TEOG, TEG, have state program requirements to meet SAP, and PASS and exemption and waivers have specific ones as well. So this announcement was to let schools know that you can use the other good cause hardship, which is available for this situation, and you can basically document the situation for the student and keep a record of the decision in their file, but you must make sure to notify the student that the provision has been applied. So this is in relation to if they could not complete one of the requirements to meet SAP. Okay. Again, additional information, if you visit the webpage, we'll have some extra layers there for you to read through. Another thing that went out, this was not posted on our frequently asked questions page, but this was sent out simply to help schools during this time when you're trying to package students and collect documentation related to selective service. There's been a lot of questions over the past couple of years on selective service, and some requests for us to revisit selective service requirements in regards to the statement that must be collected. So on April 6, 2020, we released a statement saying that if an institution can confirm through the sss.gov website that the student is registered, you can now save that confirmation directly from the website and use that as the student's official signed statement on record. You do not need to collect the additional statement if you can collect that online. So we're hoping that that relieves a lot of unnecessary burden, not only on the institution, but on the student. We know it's a lot of work to collect those statements. This is a huge time saver and will help, especially during the circumstances that we're all in right now. The other one that we received feedback on was on students who submit their FAFSA and they're under the age of 18. The ICER flags those students and deems them exempt until they turn 18. So they were requesting, is there any way we can not collect a statement for those students because it's already documented on the ICER. And so we did release that if the ICER confirms that they're under age of 18, no statement is required. You can simply use the ICER. I know that this may generate some questions. Like I said, we'll wait to the end and then I can tell you how to submit questions specific to any of these topics. So let's talk about our agency operations for a moment. Many of you may have tried to call our institutional phone line. We have Texas Financial Aid Information Center, and we also have a borrower phone line. All of these are through a system that is not available remotely right now. We are working to get that up and running so that people can contact us on the phone, but as of today, it's unavailable until further notice. So what we're recommending is that all inquiries be submitted through our Contact Us web form. Many of you use this to submit us questions before all of this happened, so now we're just reinforcing that this is the best way to reach us, and it also ensures that you'll receive a response in writing. This is also how we're collecting information on creating the frequently asked questions. So again, if you have a concern or something that's affecting your school, please submit it to us so that we can route that up the chain to see if there's any type of exception or something we can do to assist your institution. A few reminders: when you're filling out this form, please make sure that you select institution at the top and that you enter your institution's name. And most importantly, under the contact reason, you need to put financial aid question. This ensures that it gets routed to financial aid services, and those are the folks that are going to be answering these questions. If any other contact reason is selected, it gets routed throughout the agency, and it could take a day or two for it to reach our area. So that's why I'm always kind of stressing that on these calls, like please, please, please make sure you put financial aid question. If you're talking to a student who needs to reach the coordinating board for their student loans, please make sure to communicate to them that they need to select student loan question. That will be routed to a different area of the agency for things such as repayment, deferments, forbearance, application issues, Again, we're getting an influx of inquiries, but sometimes they're getting routed to the wrong places. And we're getting through them, no problem. It's just, again, streamlining the process so we can get through them more quickly for y'all. Again, please leave all your information, including your phone number. We're trying to reach out via email, but a lot of times we need to reach out on the phone so that we can discuss things further. So a phone number is very helpful during this time. Lastly, I wanted to make sure people know, especially if you're new or you're not getting the notifications that I'm talking about, we have a web form online through our SFAP page under the Stay Connected page. And you can see it on the screen. It's that second hyperlink that says Student Financial Aid Programs Listserv. That form in blue will pop up, and if you fill that out and hit subscribe, we will add you to the appropriate bucket. Please make sure to add your title so that we know what category. Typically, we do assistant directors and up into our director notification buckets. If you're an advisor or some other role, we put you in our general one, which we send a lot of information to as well. So if you're not receiving it, please fill that out, send it in. We'll get you added as soon as possible. But as a reminder, we are posting everything to that COVID-19 page on the main site. So you can get information there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that is all of the updates I have. So what's next? I mentioned a few minutes ago that we do still have a lot of things in the pipeline that we're working on, one of which is preliminary allocations. We're in the process of getting those calculations. We did have to wait for some of the financial aid database information to be updated, and we have since received all of that. So now we're in the process of pulling all those figures together so that we can send those out for your review and get your feedback on those totals. So please keep an eye out for that. Those will be coming soon. I can't say exactly when, but soon. Program guidelines are in the final stages. They are being updated. We didn't have a ton of updates this year, but I do think some of the changes that have made are going to be very helpful. On next month's webcast, I'll be going through the program guidelines to show you any significant changes that are being made, one of which is selective service that I talked about. There's some additional information in the guidelines that will be provided, but that will be coming out in the next 2 weeks. Institutional calendar, we post that each quarter or we try and align it with the semesters. But right now we have our summer edition that we just posted. So you can find that online under our resource section. And it was just posted a few days ago. So you can find that out there. And lastly, we are just in the final stages of posting a new exemption fact sheet for the foster care and adoption from foster care program. We get a lot of questions on this, not only from students, but from institutions on what to do. So this is kind of a little how-to guide. There's plenty of resources out there, but we wanted something dedicated just for institutions versus the students. So keep an eye out for that. We will be sending an announcement once it's available. And then on next month's webcast, I'll be going through that fact sheet. And I think if you've joined before, I mentioned that we're looking at all the exemption and waiver programs and chipping away at those to create resource documents. So as the year continues, we'll be releasing more of those as well. So that is it. I told you at the beginning this would be a somewhat shorter webcast because, again, of the circumstances, we wanted to make sure we're getting information out to y'all. I'm going to circle back to the question box just to kind of see what questions y'all have. And let me see. I don't see any questions yet. If you have questions, you can start typing those through. If you can do me a favor and you can send me questions that relate to all institutions, that's ideal. If you have specific questions to a student scenario or to something that would only apply to your institution, please use the Contact Us link so that you can send those through to us. Again, we'll review those as quickly as possible and get back to you in writing. Someone is asking, Jackie, is the PowerPoint going to be available for download? Yes. We will try our best to get that done by early next week. Again, because we're working remotely, some of our resources are shifted a little bit. So we'll get this onto YouTube and post it online, and then the PowerPoint will be available too. It's Carol. It says, will institutions be able to waive the institutional matching for Texas College WorkStudy like for federal WorkStudy? I believe the institutional match or the share is on the FAQ page. And yes, it's following the same guidance as federal WorkStudy. So you can go on there. That was, I believe, one of the only ones that was not included, and I apologize. So that one is on there as well. Laura is asking, on the Good Neighbor Scholarship Program, if we have already submitted applications, can we submit new ones with the new deadline of May? Yes, you can. Please keep in mind, if you are trying to reorder or change your priority ranking, then we would need to talk about that, because that will that could have an impact on the selection process. But if you have extended it for your students and you want to submit some new ones, you do have that ability to do that. I would reach out in advance though, just to talk it through with me so I can go through it. Ada's asking, will a deadline be extended to use state WorkStudy allocation? Can we carry forward to next year? If you can submit that one in writing, just kind of explaining, I believe we may have that one on our radar. But yes, we can submit that one to see what options we have on WorkStudy funding, because right now WorkStudy can only be used through the spring semester, and then any funds either they have to be transferred to your grant program or they have to be returned. So please submit that one to us. I'm getting all sorts of questions. Let's see, I think that's Nora. Can you tell us when the additional information will come out on selective service? We're planning to publish the program guidelines in the next 2 weeks. So that will be out. If you have additional questions specific to selective service, you can submit those. I will let you know that we are looking into the selective service mail system being down. We have been informed that students aren't getting some of the letters or notifications that they would typically get. So we're looking into that to get more clarification on what that means and how it will affect institutions. And once we have information, we will send that out. Let's see, are institutions able to submit FAD Cycle 1 if they choose to continue to work on FAD's report? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm thinking that it won't do anything. I don't know if they turned it off. If anyone's working right now or on this call has the answer to that, you can Skype it. But otherwise, I'll get back with you, Princess, so that I can let you know the answer to that, because I don't know. That's very, very ambitious of you. But I understand, because it will help you with your next reporting cycle. Brandy, is there any guidance on the controlled substance statement for TEOG? Is that question, are you asking if you still have to collect it? And if so, what I would do is submit that one, and what are the challenges on collecting the controlled substance statement for TEOG? Because unfortunately, I don't have enough details to answer that clearly. Will there be a waive? Christine is asking if you can waive the match of TEOG. As far as I know, there's been no waiver to match the TEOG. So again, if you have, what I would recommend is if you have concerns or you're having challenges, is to send it through and then include why you're requesting that for us to look at, so that we understand what we would be requesting. Many of these have to go up through the governor for him to approve, because they exist in statute. For instance, the waiver or the matching, not the waiver, excuse me, the matching of funds, that's something that's written into statute. So if we were to get that as an exception, then we would have to get that approved. Okay, Deshay answered the question. Yes, institutions can still submit FADs for FAD files for cycle 1. So that's your answer on that one. I believe that was Princess. Carlos Salinas, UTSA was certified on FAD B. Excellent, excellent. That's awesome. You just made it before we shut it off. Brandy will do. Let's see, Ed. Will the CARES Act emergency grants provide to student need to report? Let me see if I can read this again. Will the CARES Act emergency grant provide to students need to be reported on FADs? What about other emergency aid that might be provided? Ed, we'll look into that offline to see how that's going. All of this is going to affect FADs in some way, shape, or form. So we will look into that. Thank you for bringing it up. If you can submit that through a formal, contact us so that we know what we need to look into, that would be helpful. Okay, the questions are slowing down. Let's see. Deshay says the FAD file accounts for other and state federally funded. Okay, it accounts for state federally funded data elements 66 and 67. Again, I think we will provide some additional guidance on this. I hate to go like trying to figure it out on a webcast. We have a data sub-collection committee that meets on FADs every couple months. And this is the kind of stuff that we will come together and talk through how it's going to affect each of the data elements and if there's modifications that need to be made to reporting or how we're going to handle that. So stay tuned if you work on FADs. Any other questions? I don't see anyone typing. Again, please reach out if you need anything. We are working very diligently to answer as many questions as possible. If you have feedback, we're always willing to listen, and we will continue to send out resource materials as they become available. Next month on the webcast, again, I'll be going through guidelines, that fact sheet that I mentioned for foster care, and I'm sure some other topics. So if you have anything that you would like to have me train on in the next couple of months, there is a webcast survey online on our webpage. If you can fill that out, that will not only tell me how I'm doing on these webcasts, but it also helps communicate ideas on what y'all need training on. It looks like a few more questions are coming through. Says, will we have to reduce Texas grant awards to students if we give them the CARES Act funds and they have no more need? I don't know the answer to that. Marion, I will need to look at that as well. These are really great questions, so please submit these through. We will make sure to route them on and have them looked at. And if it doesn't apply to your situation, then we can steer you to the right rule that will allow you to help with these scenarios. And if it is something that's going to apply broadly to all the institutions, we can get that looked at and possibly approved. Okay, it says, can you repeat about the good cause hardship? I missed most of what you said. So Valerie, what we released was that, most of the programs, the state programs, have state SAP requirements, either GPA, completion rates, hours earned. So in order for the student to meet SAP, they have to meet all of those criteria. If the institution determines that there's something that would not allow the student to meet SAP, they can use the hardship provision in the rule and in the statute to allow the student to continue to receive their eligibility. You would just need to document that and have it in the file and to let the student know that you're granting that hardship based on this particular situation. And again, there's some additional information on the FAQ. You can go read that, and if you have questions at that point, then you can email us. Okay. Dee Dee is saying that the CARES funds are not estimated financial aid. So So thank you. Do you know when the preliminary allocations will be sent to universities? Um, I mentioned a few minutes ago, we are working on those. We had some delays because of financial aid data. We had to make sure that we had all of that in the system before we can do our calculations. So we do have that now, and we are working diligently to get those preliminary allocations out to y'all. So I would anticipate, like I said soon. I can't give you an exact date, but definitely very soon. We're getting those in the pipeline. Mildred says, are there any plans for the state to provide an additional grant for non-Title IV eligible students? I have not heard of any additional funding that we are making available. You can send that in and we can look into it. I am not privy to anything like that at this moment. Any others? I think that might be, I keep getting kind of, a whole surge of questions at once, and then I got to read through them. So in the event I end the webcast and you still have questions, please reach out. You can always reach out to Deshay or me, but I recommend that you send it through Contact Us. That allows us to issue them out to more people to research versus it sitting with us. We are in a lot of meetings because of this virtual environment, and I would hate to miss one of your emails or delay it in any way. So that's definitely the best place to get in touch with us, and anyone from our staff can reach out to you to get additional details if we need to. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope that you got some extra tidbits on this one. We will get it posted on our archive page on the webcast page that's on SFAP. Please stay safe out there. We are with you guys. We thank you so much for everything you're doing for these students, and we will talk to you next month. Thank you so much. Have a great day.